Hi, and welcome back. This is Module 3, Mindful Perception. Let's just check in first. How are you doing on your mindful activities? Are you starting each day with your half smile? Are you trying to get back to it or maintain it throughout the day? Maybe you're stopping to pause and take a break from the busy day you're having, especially in stressful situations. Maybe you're even doing some breathing exercises. Are you working on those attitudes you picked, the ones you wanted to improve? Maybe you're journaling in the morning, right before bed, getting out your thoughts and feelings. If you answered no to some of those or even all of those, the first thing you need to do is forgive yourself and move on. Tomorrow's another day, or even today. Finish the day being a little bit more mindful. In this module, we're going to learn how to use visualization to relax ourselves more and let our thoughts go. We're going to think about how we think about our lives and what we can and cannot control. We're also going to learn a technique for putting stressful situations into perspective. And we're going to learn how to reframe how we think about events that we would consider bad or stressful. In order to relax and get ourselves ready for what we're doing today, we're going to start with a 4-minute visualization breathing exercise. You'll notice it's a minute longer than we've been doing, and we gradually want to extend that amount of time if we can. Just a few reminders. You want to get yourself in a comfortable position so that you can relax. You can start with your half smile, and you can close your eyes if you want to. You're going to be focusing on your breath, inhaling through your nose, letting your belly fill with air, and exhaling through your mouth. And we're going to be imagining ourselves as a pebble being thrown into a little river and falling through the water. Are you ready? Let's begin. Get comfortable, relax, and start with your half smile. Focus on your breath. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly rise as you inhale and your lungs empty as you exhale. Remember that reality is in the present moment, where you are and who you are right now. Imagine yourself as a pebble which has been thrown into a river. The pebble sinks through the water effortlessly. Detached from everything, it falls by the shortest distance possible, finally reaching the bottom, the point of perfect rest. You are like a pebble, which has let itself fall into the river, letting go of everything. At the center of your being is your breath. When you feel yourself resting like a pebble, which has reached the riverbed, that is the point when you begin to find your own rest. You are no longer pushed or pulled by anything. very gradually, still relaxed, come back to present. How did that go? Were you able to reach that point of rest, where your thoughts didn't drag you in one direction or the other? If not, that's okay. Just try again. How do you feel though? Did that really feel like 4 minutes? Do you feel more relaxed, less stressed? I hope so. You may have been asked, is the glass half full or half empty? You may have chuckled, thought about it a little bit. But we perceive events in a certain way, and it matters. Let's think about these two habits of thinking, optimism and pessimism. Optimism is when we blame the situation. We know that things will get better. This is one event, and things will get better. Pessimism is when we blame ourselves, sometimes other people, but we don't feel that the situation is going to get better. Which of those habits do you find yourself in most of the time? It may depend on the situation, but typically you're more optimistic or more pessimistic. What's the difference between blaming yourself and taking responsibility and seeing it as a growth opportunity? Think about those questions. Optimism works when we do the following things. When we can actually give reasons why the bad parts of a situation or an event relate to a place or a time and not a person, not ourselves. We can look at all of the evidence in a situation. We're not biased to only see this or this. We can find the positives in a situation, and maybe we even write them down. We avoid overgeneralizing, using words like always and never. And we're able to focus on what we hope to achieve. That's what makes optimism work. Let's look specifically at avoiding overgeneralizations. Sometimes we take one event, one circumstance, and we expand it in our minds. And all of a sudden, it's relating to all these other things. For example, I once asked a second grade student, how would you describe yourself? And he said, I am bad. And I said, why do you think that? And he said, I never do anything right. My teachers are always yelling at me. That student was overgeneralizing a misbehavior and a consequence, or maybe a few. We find ourselves doing it maybe. If you look for instances of overgeneralization, you will find them in yourselves and others. But how can you help? Ask yourself, if you're the one doing it, or the person who's talking, and the truth is, where is the truth in that? The truth is, I had one misbehavior and one consequence. The truth is, I made a bad decision here. The truth is, this situation is alone and I need to deal with it all by itself. Avoiding overgeneralizations is a very important key in becoming more optimistic. As we try to become more optimistic, we can also reduce stress by thinking about what is and is not in our control. Stephen Covey, in his wonderful book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, describes 2 circles. The first is the circle of concern. In this circle, you should put all of those things that you care about. It might be just within your family or your community, or it might be more widespread and involve concerns you have about the country, or the world. In your circle of influence, a much smaller circle, you would put those things that you actually can change. Things where you can affect the outcome, where you have an influence. For example, I might really care about the environment. I might read articles about the environment. I might get upset if things are happening that aren't helping the environment. But that belongs in my circle of concern. The issue of the environment and how to keep it safe, that issue is beyond me. It's global. In my circle of influence, however, I may have issues related to the environment and what I can do to help. For example, how can I recycle more, or use less water, or reuse items that I would normally throw away? Now take a moment to think about what lies in your circle of concern and in your circle of influence. If you're following along in the manual, fill out the graphic and jot down some ideas in each of the circles. If you don't have the manual, just draw 2 circles. Dividing our stressors into what belongs in the circle of concern and the circle of influence can help as we decide what to use our energies and our thoughts for. How do we divide the energy that we have, the thoughts that we have, into what is most useful to us? What is most beneficial? What will actually cause an outcome? When you are in the midst of a stressful situation, you may have difficulty figuring out whether something is really, really a catastrophe or whether it's just a bump in the road. One way to deal with this is to create a stress ranking scale for yourself. One way to do this is to think about stressful situations in terms of bodily injuries. So for example, if it's something not really that big, you might say, that's about as bad as stubbing my toe. If it's something really, really big, you might say, that's about as big as losing a limb. For example, you spill some coffee on your shirt. On a normal day when you weren't stressed, that might be a 1. It feels like stubbing your toe. But on a day when you've already had a lot of stress, and then you spill coffee on your shirt, you may be much higher up on that ranking. But if you stop and think about it, you might actually come to terms with the fact that it really is a 1. It really is like stubbing your toe. It's an inconvenience. There aren't any long-term effects. You may be embarrassed for a little while, but that's it. So what I want you to do is think about a stress ranking scale that would work for you. You might not want to use stubbing your toe to losing a limb. What are some things that you could rank that would help you figure out how stressful a situation is when you're actually in it? If you're following along in the manual, there's a page for you to do that. If you don't have the manual, just jot down the numbers 1 through 10 and think about the lowest being 1 and the highest being 10. Ranking our stressors in this way helps to put perspective on something when it happens. It may be very difficult to calm down in that moment to think about this stress ranking scale, but those are other strategies you can get for how to stop and think. I was talking with some parents this week, and one parent said that what works for her, if she's in a stressful situation and she needs to calm down, is to grab an ice cube. Just that sensory feeling is enough to bring her back to present, where she can calm down and actually think about how big of a deal is this stressor. So take some time, jot down some ideas, and create your own stress ranking scale. Finally, we're going to talk about a technique called reframing. Have you ever thought about a situation or event more negatively than you should have? Have you ever blamed someone for something he or she didn't do? Martin Seligman talks about a technique called reframing in his book Learned Optimism. There are 5 steps: A, B, C, D, and E. A is adversity. What is the bad event? B is beliefs. What are the beliefs that you brought to this situation? What did you think before it even happened? What did you think about its interpretation? How did you think about the event? Consequences. What did you actually do as a result of the event? Disputation of beliefs. What is the evidence? Does it support your perspective? Does it go against your perspective? Do you have part of it right? Are there other possible causes for this event? Are there positives that you were missing? And then you can use your stress ranking scale and think about whether this truly is a catastrophic event or not. And E is energy. Now that you think about this event in a different way, how do you feel? What will you do? Now let's take a common stressor, homework time, and try to reframe it using this method. A, adversity. The bad situation is homework time. B, beliefs. You have certain beliefs you're bringing to the table. I have a lot of stuff to do. I could be doing something else. Why isn't my child doing his homework more independently? Why is it taking so long? Why do I have to fight to get him to finish his work? Why didn't the teacher do more? C, consequences. You're a little bit more impatient, maybe even short-tempered. You may overwhelm your child or cause anxiety. Neither of you is enjoying the process. Disputation of beliefs. How can you think about this differently? The evidence is showing your child is having some struggles with the content. Your child needs a little bit more time. You realize your child is working very hard. You realize your child wants to do well in school. You realize that this can be quality time together. E, the energy. You feel better about homework time. You make efforts to be more supportive, to give your child more time, to make homework time a little bit more enjoyable. And you've reframed homework time so that it becomes less of a stressor for you. Everyone has different stressors, and we want this to be meaningful for you. So take a few moments and think about 2 of your most common stressors. Run through the whole ABCDE method for each of your stressors and see how you can reframe your thinking and make the events less stressful for yourself. If you're following along in the manual, there is a page for you to complete the exercise. Thank you so much for being with me today, and congratulations on your journey. In the coming days, remember to try visualization in your breathing exercises. Try to be as optimistic as possible, and remember what things are in your control and what things aren't. Try using a stress ranking scale to give yourself some perspective. And try reframing stressful situations. I look forward to seeing you next time.